Hi, Changemakers. It's me, Mo Berkner-Boyd. I want to dig into the human side of change. I want to have real conversations with the people who are doing the messy work of leading change and not burning people out in the process. I'm going to go deep with some of the best change and integration leaders about what's working. We'll wonk out on the data, weave in the neuroscience, and work through the challenges. Welcome to the Make or Break podcast. Hello. Welcome to this week's episode of Make or Break, where we talk about everything at the intersection of disruption and people. I am joined this week by Sandra Kiss. Sandra is an amazing change leader, and boy, we had a wide-ranging conversation. We talked about everything from what are the top hits of disruptive change, the weight that middle managers carry, and how you can really think about change adoption and what that is going to look like, almost like a symphony orchestra, and how for a long time that things are really going to be out of sync and not sound that good, and who you really don't want to be have the drumsticks. So let's jump in. Hello. Today's guest is Sandra Kiss, managing partner at Kissinger Group, a boutique consulting firm that helps companies deliver on their most critical business initiatives. Drawing on decades of experience leading complex programs across healthcare and other highly regulated industries, Sandra and her senior leadership team help step in when the stakes are high and the margin for error is small. Before launching Kissinger Group, she led the healthcare practice at one of the Bay Area's largest management consulting firms and built a training company recognized as one of Canada's top training firms. She's been honored so many ways, y'all. Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies, Women Who Mean Business finalist, Supplier of the Year, Rising Star by multiple businesses and leadership organizations. You get the picture. In her recent work, Sandra focuses on how leaders can adapt their operating models and labor strategies in a world shaped by AI, hybrid work, and really constant disruption. Sandra, I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you, Mo. I'm really excited to be here. Looking forward to it.
So I want to dive in on your practice, and you really focus on three major types of disruption. Can you tell us what those three are and give examples? And then I want to talk about what leaders need to do in those three different, if it needs to be different, the same. So first, let's dig into the three. What are they? Give me a couple of examples.
So we see we focus specifically on large scale enterprise change, and there are kind of three buckets where most of the change occurs. So the first is structural change. So this might be a merger integration, it might be a reorganization, but we're changing the structure of our business. The second one is ways of working, and so usually that is like culture, or we're changing our culture. We're really working on that, thinking about that, or we're moving into hybrid or back to the office. So those are sort of ways of interacting with each other and ways of working that sort of change the rhythms of the business. And then the third, which is something everybody sees all day, all the time, is technology change. And that might be the technology change that we're used to seeing, which is, hey, large scale system implementation, that kind of thing. Or it might be the technology change that we're all grappling with today, which is AI and how that's going to change our world. So those are kind of our three buckets of focus.
Let me just say, right, those are the like the greatest hits of disruption.
Yeah, hits is an interesting word.
Well, yeah, it is, isn't it? And I think
Yes,
what's interesting about that in almost all those scenarios, the majority of people that are going through those changes didn't sign up for it.
exactly.
It was not their
Exactly.
choice. It was not their
Yep.
choice. Okay, so how How do you all think about that? Do you have you seen a response difference in the people that didn't sign up for it, right? Do those types of change impact people similarly, or do you see a nuance there?
Uh, yes and yes. I think most change, not all change, we sign up for, we decide we're going to move someplace, or, we do sign up for a lot of change, but a lot of change comes to us without request, right? So, uh, we need to understand what's happening, really understand the situation. We care about how that's impacting things that I do and my daily life. And then we really think about whether or not we're going to be able to succeed in that
Mm.
situation. So I think that disruptive change, or maybe any change, that's sort of the common thread, uh, and that certainly applies to all three types of these changes. There are, yes, definitely some differences as well, and some nuances. And I think when I think about change, I think about um, a lot of our response is fear based.
Mm.
I think about what fears might we be tapping into. So with structural change, it's very identity based, right? It's
Uh-huh.
what is my role? How is that being affected? Am I reporting to somebody differently? Is somebody different? Am I expected to do something different? So it's very much about identity and perhaps role confusion.
Can
Um,
I
yeah.
just insert a story there that so back in a long time ago when I worked for somebody else, I was doing org dev work, and one of the things that we knew that we needed to do was really redesign how
Hmm.
work was done. This exact scenario, Sandra, I was literally the one that was designing how it was going to be done. And I still had to go through this because I was working on a different team. Even as the one that signed up for it.
Yes. Yes.
We still, and again, there's the neuroscience behind all of that, but I think there's that even change that you're excited about and that you might have been a part of being an architect of, you still go to fear.
Sure, sure. And I think you touched on something that's so important, and that is that that the leaders experience this quite differently. They may be promoting this change, they may be architecting it, and they are also going through it.
Yeah.
So if I'm just on the receiving end, that's one experience. If I am both on the architecting, helping other people understand, and experiencing the change myself, that's a different and more complex and more difficult kind of change. So that's a really important insight, Mo.
That is, I love that you called that out, Sandra, because I think in particular when we think about our frontline managers and the weight that they hold in that, having to take their team through it and themselves through it, and right, they're middle manager for a
Hmm.
reason.
Yes, they're
Boy,
getting the squeeze, right?
they're getting the squeeze, and what they have to carry there, I think, is a really good call out.
Yes, there's a lot of water that they're carrying. So couldn't agree more. Um, structure. I think you have a lot of role and identity issues. Uh, when ways of working change, uh, that is more about um, rhythm and almost muscle memory, and kind of how we're interacting with each
Mm.
other. And so that's daily habits. It's undoing how we're used to doing things and then redoing. Uh, so it's a little bit different that way. Uh, and then
Again, I just have to call, like, I'm such a neuroscience wonk.
I love it.
We spend about roughly half our life in habit loops.
Mm,
and the the energy that it takes to build a new habit, to come out of habit, to,
yes.
right? We have to be, it's anytime y'all think about when you have had to learn something new or do something new, even if it's not physical, at the end of the day, you're exhausted. It's because your
Yes.
brain is spending that energy. And so I love, again, that call out, Sandra, of you're having to bust up old habits and build new ones. And
Yep.
that is exhausting.
Yes, it is. And unlearning is as hard as learning,
Mm, mm,
and you're exactly right. It is physically exhausting, even if it's. I mean, I have found myself with a headache when I'm trying to learn something, and it's truly physically exhausting. So, and it takes a while. You can't do it
hmm.
overnight, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
true of all
Anyone,
change.
anyone that's read Atomic Habits, right?
Yes, love one of my favorite books. Uh,
And but add to that, it's not just you forming the new habits, it's the organization.
yes, yes, and so it's this whole ecosystem that is changing together, and some people will do it faster, and other people will do it slower, and it's this orchestra. And you're trying
Mm.
to bring it together, and it's really easy to be out of tune for a while. Uh,
Oh, that's such a good analogy. I love
It just
that.
yes, you just got one guy who's moving ahead, and some other people who are still still trying to make the instrument work the way they want it to. So it's a
Yeah.
tough one.
And we talk about, I throughout my career, I've talked about the cave people, the citizens against virtually everything, right? So pulling them along, and they tend to be like on they tend to be on the loudest instrument in
Oh,
that orchestra.
absolutely, absolutely. They're the drummer. Bong.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yes,
Uh,
there is some dissonance that happens as everybody is going through this together. Uh, and then what I think is really interesting is that technology change I find to be probably the most different. And the reason is because it challenges, and this is quite true for me. It challenges your competence, your uh, view of your competency and your
mm,
confidence. So,
mm.
I grew up thinking, well, I'm not really technology inclined. I just am not, and so I carry that. And thank goodness for AI, because it's really taught me that we're all technology inclined, and all you have to do is try and not be afraid, right? Not be afraid to
Yeah.
fail. But it is um, a, a different fear, a different type of fear, and of course identity and all those other habits, all those other things apply there too. But I think it's more likely to challenge our confidence and competence.
Yeah, especially, I think it is so interesting. I don't know if you've seen some of the recent data coming out where, how leaders believe that AI is being used and integrated, and what their teams are actually
There's a
experiencing.
huge
Yeah.
delta. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what has been interesting about AI in particular is every day it feels like there's something new. So I think everybody kind of feels like they're back on their heels
Yes.
through this whole process because there are so many different ways, not, and I don't even want to say use cases because that's not even thinking about it in a big enough way. So even wrapping your head around what the possibilities are, and then, oh my gosh, the possibilities have changed
Just
and there's
changed.
something new.
Yes.
And I, I,
Exactly.
I appreciate what you just said in there is like, just get in there.
Yeah.
And I think if that skill of being able to just get in there and experiment, right, and keep trying something new and being really adaptable and rolling with it,
Yes.
is one that will serve us really well, particularly in this this AI adoption phase. And so for leaders, I think we covered that a bit. Is there any arc that you would say should be different for how they should be guiding their teams through these three separate types of change?
Well, I think the general rules always apply, right? And it's about I believe that people talk about appealing to people's to the mind and the hearts and minds of people, right? I see it as kind of three dimensions, which is appeal to the head, which is appeal to me intellectually, explain this change to me, right? Appeal to my heart. Why does it matter to me? And then the one that is frequently left out, which I think is really important, especially for leaders, is hands and feet. So what do I
Ah,
do differently, right? Uh, and that often gets left off the table.
mm.
We're communicating, we're all excited about the
Here's
what's
what's
in
in
it
it
for
for
me.
you.
Yeah, right, exactly. And all of those things are good and they're right, but we forget to tell people what to do. So that is sort of the overarching. Always these things apply and involve people and engage them and all of that. When I think about uh, the nuance of these different scenarios, it goes back to um, what is likely to be when you think about the sticking points. What fears might they have,
Mm,
and really understanding that in structure it might be an identity or a role confusion. In technology it might be competency. So just kind of pulling those things out and making sure that you're being, as a leader, that you're giving people the space to express those concerns, and that you're helping them, you're supporting them through those. So I think it's more awareness than anything else.
yeah, it's interesting, Sandra, because one of the C2IQ skills under change resilience is actually change literacy and
Mm,
agency. Because when people have that skill, they can. It's not the onus isn't on the leader, right? It's on the individual to say, why am I resisting this change, right? What is it? What are my fears? And so I think really looking at that from both angles too, right? Do your people have that skill of
yes.
understanding the change curve, understanding what their emotions are, what they're afraid of, why they're resisting, and then taking action. And so I think that's one thing that I really encourage leaders to think about is how are you making sure that your people understand the predictability within change and their role in not just their hands and feet role, but
Hmm.
their change literacy role
Yes,
and their
I
change
love that.
agency role.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's so well said, Mo, and it's usually overlooked. I think
Hmm.
that we think, well, there are change leaders, and they're supposed to lead the change, and then there's everybody else, and they're just supposed to come along, right?
Right, right. They're supposed to read the 40 emails
Right,
and
exactly.
watch the
Yeah.
slide deck and the presentation. Right.
And jump on the
Yeah.
bandwagon. And
Yeah.
no, I think that I would love to see organizations really invest in helping people better understand change and, like you said, the neurology behind it, uh, what how much it benefits them to be adaptable in life and in business, right? And then what that really looks like, and that there is this curve, uh,
Yeah.
and it's and you're going to be frustrated, and there is a messy middle, and all of these things are just part of it.
Yeah, yeah. You're gonna be afraid. Here's
Yes.
all of the things. I remember the light bulbs that went off for me very early, um, when I went through a change course. It was a part of my grad, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, now I have this list of why I personally might be, resisting change."
Mm,
And again, like, from that day forward, when there was something happening, I'd go through, I'm like, it's loss of relationships. It's loss of competence. It's loss of, and I could identify it, and then okay, what do I need to move through that then?
Mm.
And how valuable that was learning that early. I think it's just a gift that managers, everybody can give their team, is just understanding that, because we are in constant change.
Yes.
I appreciate that you called out not just in your career, but in your life.
Sure, sure. And I think that's helpful for people when we're asking them to work hard, is to, to remind them that, yeah, this applies everywhere.
Yeah, 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 yeah. these are
You're going
these
to
are
get some
life skills.
long-lasting benefits. Yes, exactly.
So we've talked a little bit there about some models and some things. Is there a metric? Is there your I will die on this hill? This is a people metric that during these, and particularly in these three types of, as I said, the greatest hits of disruption, that should be tracked. That either isn't, or that maybe you think differently than a lot of people out there on what that data, what those metrics are.
Yeah, it's a great question, and we touched on this earlier. I mean, there are some good metrics that are standard metrics, that you sort of have to check the boxes, right? We have to ensure that there's enough communication and that it's clear, and that people are given the tools and the training and all of those things. Most of them are, and then you have engagement and adoption, sort of on the back end, and those are all important. And they are mostly either activities, we're going to do
Mm,
communication, we're going to do training, or they're lagging indicators. So they're, oh, well, we have good adoption, or, we have, good engagement. Engagement is a little bit different. I think engagement is a really good indicator. But what, what I think often gets missed is going back to that management layer.
mm.
That's where there is a bottleneck. That is where things get stuck. Uh, Managers have to be able to absorb the change themselves, as we talked about,
Yeah.
with you, uh, and to translate it to the people that are experiencing the change. Uh, and so, uh, measuring the capacity of those managers to absorb and translate. It's easier to measure translation than it is absorption. But
Yeah, how would you measure, yeah, how would you measure that capacity?
yeah, so one thing that is, I mean, this is kind of obvious, but uh, we talk a lot about change saturation,
Mhm.
and we talk about people being overwhelmed and such, and people use change heat maps and other ways to look at this. Um, I think that we have to take a look at how much is happening in an organization to I mean, that's just practical. How many initiatives is Mo on right now?
Right.
How many initiatives are happening across the organization? How many meetings is she expected to attend? I mean, they're just
I and I wonder if you could even drill down. Does she have a new person on her team? Right,
yes,
like what are all, because all of those things are impacting. So
yes,
you'd have to
yes,
you could, and so I'm guessing that you're suggesting get as granular as you can
yes,
to the manager level.
exactly.
I love that, right? Because that's going to be very predictive of adoption. It's going to be predictive of engagement. All of those things, Sandra. Would you suggest measuring that pre-disruption
Yes.
and then 30 days in, or do you even wait 30 days? But it seems like that should be a constant. throughout at least the
Yes.
first 90 days.
Yes, 100%. If you don't do it ahead of time, then you're playing catch up. You've already kind of blown it, right? So I do think it is a leading indicator, and it's something that has to be measured up front. And to your point, at various junctures to say, and are we, did we start out okay, and then did we pile on a bunch of stuff?
What
Because we do
changed?
that,
What
right?
changed? Yeah, of
Yes.
course. Yeah.
So yes, I like the 30-day marks are always a good mark. It also sort of depends on the size of the initiative, right? If it's a 3-year initiative, we probably don't want to measure every 30 days.
Yeah, right.
But but if it's a 90-day initiative, we do.
Yeah,
But yes, we want to measure before and during.
right. Pick the consistency based on the length of the initiative.
Exactly.
Is that fair to say?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I'm going to take us into some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
You took C2IQ.
I did.
Anything surprising? Anything that it was like, well, that makes sense? Just what was your experience, Sandra?
Well, first of all, it was a really fun and interesting thing to go through, and I loved the report that I received. Um, the surprise for me, which was there were two surprises. One was I would have thought that I would perform better on optimism, and I
Uh,
didn't perform as well as I would have hoped. My optimism had me performing better. But I do think of myself as an optimist, and that came out as an area of growth. So that was a little surprising. Where I performed better than expected was I'm forgetting the term, but sort of my ability to manage my emotions,
Emotional
and
regulation.
yes, emotional regulation. Thank you. That was yes, and I think like many people probably, like, it's all happening down here, and up here it looks okay, but there's still a lot going on. So yes, maybe I can manage them publicly, privately, maybe not as well. But that's a good insight to have. So I love the fact that I got those personal insights, and it would be really interesting to uh, to see it across a team or an
Yeah.
organization, and how it all fits together.
Yeah, that it is. It's very cool. Like the puzzle pieces, we've had people say like, "Oh, this some of the things that we're seeing in the business, it makes so much sense." And I'm
Yes.
glad I'm glad that you found value, right? Now you can really lean into your strengths, right? And think about what are some things that I need to do. And I think that I find it fascinating around optimism, right? Because there's the optimism mindset and there's
Hmm.
the optimism skill set. And this is measuring skill set.
Aha. Oh, okay. I'll have to think
So
about
yep,
that.
yep. What do you think is the make or break on the people side of disruption? What's the thing that you believe is the most important?
If I had to bring it to a fine point, I think it is whether people can see themselves succeeding in the new environment after the change. I think when people can see themselves succeeding, you will have good change. If they can't see themselves succeeding, it's pretty hard.
I love simple and high impact, and that's the mic drop that you just gave there, Sandra. And with I love that mic drop because my next question is, where can people find your work? What are you up to? What do they need to know? Where should they follow you? Because I know that you and I, from the moment we connected, it's just been an exciting collaboration, and I love the way you approach this work. And I encourage you all to get in community with Sandra, and she is going to tell us how.
Thank you, Mo. And the feeling is quite mutual, as I hope you know. Uh, Best place to find me is probably LinkedIn, and I try to put some stuff out weekly ish. We also our site, which is kissingergroup.com, is a good site. We have some tools on there and a little bit more about us, and and hopefully you and I will continue to collaborate and find ways to put more stuff out there.
Absolutely, right? Like the change isn't slowing down. These disruption is coming at us fast, and it gives me hope. We all know that the stats are terrible right now in terms of work and burnout and loneliness, and it gives me hope that there are people like you and your team out here doing good work, Sandra. So thank you, and thank you for sharing all of your insights today on Make or Break.
It was great fun. Thank you so much for having me, Mo.
Hey, you made it to the end of the episode. You are ride or die. Thank you again for joining us. If you like the podcast and want to stay connected, please hit subscribe. These are video podcasts, so join us on YouTube for the best experience of the show. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. I love connecting with people who are committed to human-centered change. See you on the next episode.